Nobody is going to notice this have cameras in them. Nobody. Apple wants AI to stop living in your pocket and start living on your body. Apple settled a $250 million lawsuit because they ran ads for Siri features that did not exist yet. That is not a delay. That is a documented gap between what Apple promised and what they shipped. Millions of people wearing these every day, and none of them are going to notice when this change. I asked you earlier, when was the last time you actually looked at the stem of someone else's AirPods? One thing before we dive in, I wake up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning every day to make these videos. Not because I have to, but I genuinely believe that these videos matter and I want to get it right. If you like this content, a like, subscribe, or a comment would mean a lot to me. No pressure at all. Now let's get into it. Thank you. A few weeks ago, I was scrolling through my phone and I saw a Bloomberg headline. Apple camera-equipped AirPods reach advanced testing. And I just sat there. I read it twice. Camera-equipped AirPods. What does that actually mean? Is there literally a camera inside this thing? Where and more importantly, why? Now this entered advanced testing just a few weeks ago. The hardware is nearly final, the design is locked, but there is no launch date. I was actually wearing my AirPods when I was reading the Bloomberg article. I took them out, looked at them, and the first thought I had was, nobody is going to notice this have cameras in them. Nobody. Because cameras in earbuds is such a foreign idea that it would not even cross your mind to check. In this video, I want to walk you through what I found, because the answer is more interesting than any tech headline made it sound. I had 6 questions when I read that report. 6 things I genuinely did not understand. And by the time I found the answer to question 5, I realized I had been thinking about this the wrong way the whole time. We are going to go through all 6, and somewhere in the middle, you are going to hit the same thing I did. The moment where this stops being a story about earbuds, but more about AI. My first question was the obvious one. What is this thing? What does a camera in an earbud actually mean? Because when I read that headline, my brain went straight to something obvious. A lens on the outside. Something you could see and control. Something that would look different from the AirPods you already own. But that is not this. Here is what Apple is actually building. Take any pair of AirPods Pro, hold them up, and look at the stem. That white piece that hangs down from the earbud, the next version has cameras built in both of them. Not on the outside looking at you, hidden inside the stem, pointing forward. The stems are slightly longer than the current AirPods Pro to fit the hardware inside. That is the only visible difference. Everything else looks identical to what you already own. And there is one more thing about what the product actually is. Apple may not even call it AirPods Pro. The reporting points to a new name, AirPods Ultra, a premium tier above the current $249 model. The rumored price is $299 to $349. And this is not one source guessing. Bloomberg, Mac Rumors, and 9to5Mac all independently reported the same findings published on the same day. Near final hardware, real prototypes being tested inside Apple right now. Now here is the part that surprised me the most. These are not photo cameras, they are not recording video. They are infrared sensors, low resolution, built to read context, not capture moments. Think of them less like a camera and more like a pair of eyes that feed information to Siri in real time. They see what is around you, they do not store what they see. There is also a small LED indicator on the stem that lights up when the cameras are actively sending data. Apple modeled it on the MacBook Green camera light. The idea is you always know when it's on. But I want you to hold on to one question, and I'll come back to it later. When was the last time you actually looked at the stem of someone else's AirPods? So we know what Apple is building, but what do cameras in AirPods Pro actually do? There are 3 use cases that keep showing up in the reporting. First, end of a long day, you open the fridge, a few sad vegetables staring back at you. You ask Siri what to make. The cameras see what you see, a recipe appears, your phone never came out. Second, navigation. Instead of turn left in 200 meters, Siri says turn left at the coffee shop ahead. Context-aware directions based on what the camera actually sees around you. Third, environment-triggered reminders. You walk past a pharmacy, Siri reminds you to pick up your prescription. The camera recognized the pharmacy, Siri connected the dots. That is what Apple is promising. But a promise on a product page and a promise in real life are two different things. So now my question was, how does this actually work in real life? Since cameras are not in ears yet, I did the next best thing. I tested visual intelligence on my iPhone 17 Pro Max. The same underlying technology, just without the ears. I pointed my camera at some vegetables on my kitchen counter, asked Siri what I could make. Siri hands it off to ChatGPT, and just like that, stir fry it is. That is how Apple Intelligence works right now. And it worked. But here is what I noticed. I still had to take my phone out, open the camera, point it at the thing, wait for it to process and give me the results. With this technology in AirPods, you just look at the thing and speak. That is not a minor convenience improvement. That is a fundamentally different relationship with what AI can do for you moment to moment. And when I realized that, I landed on my fourth question. Why ears? Of all the places Apple could put a camera, why earbuds? Why not glasses? Why not just make the phone camera smarter? Why not a clip-on pendant? And the answer to that question is why I think this whole project makes more sense than it initially sounds. Meta already put cameras in glasses, Ray-Bans, around $300. Genuinely useful, I have seen people use them. But here is the adoption problem that nobody talks about. Glasses are a fashion item. Not everyone wears them, and the people who do are not switching frames for a tech feature. That is a real barrier. AirPods are different. 685 million AirPods have been sold since 2016. About 100 million people wear them every single day. Cooking, navigating, working out, commuting. Apple does not need to convince you to try something new. They just need to upgrade something you already own and already wear. That is a strategically smarter starting point. When I understood this, I thought that is actually clever. But immediately after, that is exactly what makes this worth being careful about. But I will get to that. Here is the bigger picture. Apple is not just building AirPod cameras. In Feb, Bloomberg reported Apple is building 3 AI wearables at the same time. First, these AirPods, targeting late 2026. Second, smart glasses, Apple's answer to Meta's Ray-Bans, targeting 2027. Third, an AI pendant, a small device that clips to your shirt or hangs around your neck. Cameras on the front, a speaker for back and forth Siri conversations. All 3 connect to your iPhone. All 3 feed Siri a continuous picture of your surroundings. This is not 3 separate products competing with each other. This is one platform. Apple wants AI to stop living in your pocket and start living on your body. I've been following Apple for years. This is the first time it has felt like they are not just releasing a device. They are trying to change where AI lives. Every single one of these 3 devices, the AirPods, the glasses, the pendant, depend on the same thing, the same AI. And Apple AI is known for their track record. Now, this is where it gets complicated. The hardware is almost ready. The strategy makes sense, but there is one thing holding all of it back. Siri. Siri was built over a decade ago as a command and response system. You say a thing, you get a thing back. That is not AI in the way people mean today. That is closer to a lookup table with a voice attached. What these cameras need, what this technology needs is different. An AI that sees your kitchen, hears your question, and connects the two in real time. That is not an update to Siri, that is a complete rebuild. And Apple announced that rebuild before it was ready. Here is the Siri timeline. In June 2024, Apple promises a major Siri upgrade on stage at Wwdc. September 2024, iPhone 16 launches, but the Siri upgrade is not there. Feb 2026, delayed again. And then it gets worse. Apple settled a $250 million lawsuit because they ran ads for Siri features that did not exist yet. That is not a delay. That is a documented gap between what Apple promised and what they shipped. I have asked Siri to call someone and watched it call the wrong person entirely. That is the Siri these cameras are depending on. Now, the one thing that gives me some hope is that rebuilt Siri is reportedly powered by Google's Gemini. Apple using Google's AI. Let that sit. It is expected with iOS 27 in September 2026. WWDC is June 8th. That is the next real signal. If the new Siri works the way these cameras need it to, the whole picture changes. But before my verdict, there is one more question. This is the one that stayed with me the longest. I thought I was done, 6 questions, 6 answers, but then I hit one I was not expecting to ask. Will this record everything around me without my consent? The official answer, cameras only activate when you use Siri. There is an LED light on the stem when data is being sent. Apple generally uses green, but I think it should be red. What do you think? Drop it in the comments. But that is not the question that actually stopped me. Millions of people wearing these every day, and none of them are going to notice when this change. Here is what actually got to me. I am wearing my AirPods right now filming this. You can see them, and you did not think twice. Because nobody does. That is 10 years of normalization. AirPods became socially invisible. Nobody looks at the stem. Nobody questions them. Now imagine these have cameras in them. Same look, same stems, maybe a bit longer, but no major visible difference from the outside. I asked you earlier, when was the last time you actually looked at the stem of someone else's AirPods? That is the privacy question I do not see anyone asking. Not whether Apple will misuse your data. Will the people around you even know the camera is there? Your friends, your family, the person next to you at a coffee shop. Your phone has a camera. Everyone can see it. Smart glasses look different from regular glasses. AirPods with cameras look exactly like AirPods. And that is the thing that stayed with me. Okay, now to my verdict. The concept is actually smart, smarter than I initially gave it credit for. Putting cameras in ears makes more sense than putting them in glasses. And the 3-device strategy Apple is building, it tells me this is not a one-off experiment. This is a platform they're trying to build. But the product lives or dies on Siri. And Siri has been the most delayed, most litigated, most publicly embarrassing part of Apple's AI story for the past few years. The hardware being ready does not mean the product is ready. That is what the title means. The eyes exist, the mind does not. Wwdc is on June 8th. This is where we will see the new Siri. That is the real test. If iOS 27 ships a Siri that actually works the way this camera needed to, I'll be genuinely excited about September. I am going to keep doing this for every major AI device that drops this year, before the hype and after the dust settles. If Apple's AI strategy is something you want to track, please subscribe. I'm building this series one layer at a time. Now, while I was making this video, Google announced their own AI wearable at Google I/O. Not ears, but glasses. They partnered with Warby Parker and Gentle Monster. Gemini is going to be built in. It's also coming this fall. So now we have Apple betting on ears, Google betting on eyes, both launching around the same time. And I'm going to cover that next. Which bet makes more sense? And which one you will actually want to wear. See you in the next one.